Here we are again. Well, it's a very difficult day all across the country after another school shooting that happened yesterday. In fact, yesterday was 10 days after Buffalo. This time it was at an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas, about 85 miles from San Antonio. At least 19 children were killed and 2 teachers. They were all in a 4th grade classroom together, and it happened just days before the end of the school year. There's heartbreaking footage of parents who had to line up to give DNA swabs to help identify the victims. And as you can see, they had to wait there into the night for the results. Now, the shooter was an 18-year-old living in Uvalde. We are not naming him. We are not showing his picture. Officials say he purchased 2 assault rifles last Sunday, 6 days after his 18th birthday. We also know he barricaded himself in the classroom and was shot and killed by authorities. Now, this is the 27th school shooting this year, and right now, the 2nd deadliest school shooting in our country's history. So for more of this, we are joined by reporter and anchor Vanessa Roy from our affiliate, KENS 5. And right now she is in Uvalde, Texas. Now, Vanessa, I can't imagine what you've witnessed because you were actually the first reporter on the scene yesterday. Tell us what you saw.
As I can tell you, first of all, I know these communities out here very well. I've been covering these border communities for years now. So I did get a tip that there was an active shooter. So I rushed out here, talked to the sheriff, the county sheriff, right when I was pulling up. And all he could tell me was, this is horrific. He said, our worst nightmare just came true. And I was running up to the school, and I saw officers. Now I understand what had just happened. They had just taken down that gunman. But what happened was I saw these officers coming out, veteran law enforcement officers, state, federal, local, with tears in their eyes. And before I had learned that any children had died, I could see it in their faces. It was very difficult for me, and I know it was even more difficult for them seeing what happened inside that school.
Fill us in a little bit on the latest news that you've heard, any updates, and I thank you for covering this and for keeping a spotlight on this. I know it's not been easy.
Well, we are actually at the high school, excuse me, right now where Governor Greg Abbott is speaking inside. And he just gave us a quick update on some things we didn't have earlier. Once again, 19 children killed, 2 faculty members, many more injured in the hospital. We do know the preliminary chain of events that the gunman shot his grandmother in the face. He drove off, ran into a ditch, and then ran into this elementary school where the Uvalde school police officers tried to chase him. That's when he barricaded himself in a classroom with those children. And a short time later, agents from Border Patrol and county DPS, state troopers, were able to get into that classroom and take that gunman down. Governor Abbott did point this out as well, that the only forewarning that this was about to happen is the 18-year-old gunman posted on his Facebook, the first post, I'm going to shoot my grandmother. The second post, I shot my grandmother. And the third post, I'm going to shoot up an elementary school. And that was 15 minutes before he entered the building.
Vanessa, I'm sitting here and listening to you be so eloquent in your speech. And I saw you pause when you talked about the classroom, and I believe that's because you are a former teacher, as am I. And for myself, I just think about how scared I would be from not only myself, but my kids. So you're no stranger to active shooter drills. Give us your take on what happened here.
It's hard to say. I was just thinking yesterday, I shared this with our viewers yesterday, we have so many of these drills every single year, and we know that they're just a drill. I can't imagine what those teachers were feeling, what those children were feeling, the terror, not knowing the uncertainty of what was happening outside their classroom. Perhaps they could hear the gunshots. We've heard some stories from other children in the school, but just wondering in that wait time what is happening outside, and for the teachers trying to protect those children inside, not knowing what was happening right outside their classroom door, I just can't imagine.
Vanessa, we thank you for reporting on this. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us today. Thank you. You know, I'm speechless.
Yeah.
Numb, I'm angry. Erica, you have tears in your eyes. What are you thinking? How many times do we have to cover these shootings on this show?
Sam, I think I
mean,
you know, what was the first one? We were live on air. Was that Parkland?
Parkland.
that was Parkland.
First one.
Yep.
And then
Thousand Oaks.
Thousand Oaks, which immediately
Vegas.
followed that. I thought a lot about Tuesday, April 20th, 1999.
Right.
When I was, 20 years before I moved to Colorado, and I was a senior at my high school in Illinois. And I remember coming home, I remember hearing bits and pieces, because at that point, we didn't have like instant information about this high school in Colorado. And I remember there being so much confusion, and getting home and watching the news reports just over and over, and telling my mom I didn't want to go to school that day. Like, it was the ultimate trauma, right? And I remember going into the school on that Wednesday, and there was a group of kids who purposely decided to wear trench coats and walk down the hallway. And when they were confronted and told, we were all told to put our coats, because remember, the trench coats were so symbolic of Columbine. We were all told to put our coats away. And I remember one of the kids loudly saying in the hallway, "How dare you violate my civil rights?" That he didn't have the right to wear what he wanted to wear, because his rights were more important than our belief in our safety and the things that were going to trigger that belief or disbelief that day. And I don't know, I know it's such a small example, but how is this any different?
Nothing's changed. Nothing. I dropped Sophie off at school this morning, and I just sat in my car and I watched her play on the playground, and it made me think of the parents. How yesterday they may have done the same thing, how yesterday they went home and started planning graduation parties, and then everything that mattered to them was taken from them in a moment's notice. And that's where we're at, Al. You're a former teacher.
Yeah.
You have 3 kids.
Yeah. I look at it from the teaching perspective, but also it's just an adult in this world, the people we're supposed to shepherd, the generation coming behind us. And I think that, I don't know if we look at this as good news, our failure as adults is complete. In terms of the world that we're handing over to our kids. I was talking to my buddy John Vargas, smartest dude I've ever met in my life, yesterday. And this is before this happened. And he was like, I don't know what to tell my kids. Invest in the stock market? What? It seems fake, doesn't it? I don't know what to invest in. I don't know where to tell them to go to be safe. I don't know what state they can go to where they can guarantee to live the life that they would like to live. I don't know what this world is anymore. There's no boundaries. It's just anybody can just do anything. We allowed, and I want this to resonate with us, we allow people like Alex Jones to go on the biggest platforms in the world and spout lies about the Sandy Hook people, to the point where those people have had to move 7 or 8 times after that, because conspiracy and pushing guns and pushing violence and anger is big business in this country, but is a business. And so this is never going away. I want you guys to understand where you live and start to adjust. That's why I'm fine right now.
I know
where I live.
I don't want to adjust.
Sam,
I don't want to adjust.
People will forget by voting day, those exact same senators are going to push the exact same things through. This cannot be stopped.
Let me just remind our audience that 90% of us all agree on common sense. But 90% of us.
I don't think so.
We're out of time, and I really want to make sure that we remember the victims. I really do. As we go to break, we wanted to take a moment to remember the lives lost yesterday in Texas. 19 4th grade students and 2 teachers. Our thoughts, our prayers, hopefully our action will be with their families and with everyone in Uvalde.
10 years old.
I know.